Well, hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Mom's Overcoming Overwhelm podcast. I have another bonus episode, which is Coffee and Tea with M&E with my friend Michelle Byrd from the Busy Vibrant Mom podcast. So this is the third iteration of this, and I hope you've enjoyed them so far. It's been all about real moms having real logistical craziness with Maysember right now. And we talk about our plans for the summer, what we want to focus on, also some wins we've been having. I talk about some different mom hacks that I have been doing with ChatGPT to help me, especially with meals, and also some different tools that we have been using. One that's been helping me focus more. And then Michelle has also been sharing some of her big wins and aha moments, especially when it comes to decluttering and some other things she has going on for the summer. So I hope that you enjoyed this conversation, the behind the curtain view of mom life for the both of us. And I will be back with a regular episode next Thursday. But without further ado, hope you enjoy episode 3 of Coffee and Tea with M&E.
Hey friends, we are back with Emily. This is Coffee and Tea with Emily and me, and we are just real moms talking about real things. So here we go. Emily, how are you?
I'm doing well. I was saying I actually have my tea today because I randomly have a tickle in my throat. So anytime that happens, I'm like, who's getting me sick? Which kid do I have to blame?
Totally. We do that too. 3 or 4 of us all have the sniffles, and I think it's just allergies. Our eyes feel really red, but I am looking at which kid started it first.
So yes, I am here. I might be sipping my tea as we are chatting today, which is just totally on brand for our conversation.
All right, I finished my coffee, but it was cold, so I was thinking, oh, should have gotten more. So, what is coming up for you? What are you kind of excited about that might be coming up?
Yeah. Well, I felt like May came really soon. And then you're like, oh my gosh, it's May. And then when I think of May, I immediately think of Maysember and this concept of everything at the end of the year and everything kind of being crazy. And I don't have a ton of that, or I'm not feeling like super stressed, which I think is a good thing. But my oldest son's birthday is in May, so there is a little bit of planning going on right now, which is good. But right now, I think the thing that's helping me the most is that I really have my calendar blocked out really well. You'd be very proud of me. And then I'm just kind of doing a simple review of that the night before in like a notebook. I find sort of a pen to paper connection type of person. So even if I have everything blocked off on my Google Calendar, I just want to be like, Thursday, like, what does it look like? What are those little things I have to remember throughout the day? Like, pack such and such in the backpack, or make sure to mail out cards or whatever. So it's all in one place. I don't have sticky notes and notebooks and note apps, and it's not in multiple places, but it's really helping my brain to just be like, go to bed and know, like, okay, like I'm good for tomorrow. And then I find that it helps me sleep better because I'm not having like the random thoughts about what's coming up. And that's able to like quiet my brain for the next day. So that's something that's really been working well for me. And I'm going to continue it for as long as it works.
That's awesome. I know it's those random things that wake you up, right? Like, did I need to pick up that other medication from CVS? Did I go there and pick that up? Did I order this thing? Did we have to finish the yearbook page? It's like random to-do items that if you don't have them written down and just know of them and when you're going to take care of them, they magically like pop up.
Yeah, for me, it sometimes goes into like the food prep stuff, not so much like the thaw meat, but that is part of it. But I got a rotisserie chicken for something I'm making tomorrow, and I'm like, I need to shred the chicken off of the rotisserie chicken. Like it's so random, but then you're thinking like, well, when exactly am I going to shred the chicken? I need to actually like set some time aside to be able to do that so I don't just work and then I pop my head up and it's time to get the kids at the bus. So I think that that little notebook, like I think I would feel weird putting something on my calendar that says shred chicken or even like a reminder on my phone. So I just kind of pop it into that one little notebook and I'm like, okay, I got it. And then I am a person that gets a huge dopamine hit from crossing things off the list, like huge. And so I know this about myself. And the physical crossing it off has far higher dopamine result than just like, clicking it off electronically. Yeah. So I know that about myself. And so I'm like, okay, as long as I'm, again, keeping everything in one place, it's not like crazy. It's all contained within the one day, and I can kind of see things at a glance that will help me. But yeah, I'm the one that wakes up at like 1 in the morning is like, I gotta shred the chicken tomorrow. Let's stop the random thoughts 1 a.m. and do our best to kind of prep for that beforehand.
Definitely. Yeah. We try to go through, since my husband is amazing and does all the cooking, we try to go through the meal of what we're going to have each day. And then I've noticed it needs to be, it's on like a notebook or a notepad that we got from like the dollar store, but it needs to be like on the fridge so we know, okay, what to defrost the next day or what are we prepping. So even last night, he was like, oh yeah, I have to defrost taco meat because I'm making it the next morning.
Yeah, well, that's like the want when you like had something planned and then you're like, it's not defrosted. And speaking of meals, one of my other things that I learned actually from Chelsea Joe Moore, I just joined her Systemized to Scale program. And so we have these weekly calls, and she has really been training ChatGPT for all things home management, which I find fascinating. So a lot of people think that you just kind of pop things into ChatGPT and then it's kind of like, you just kind of get what you get. But if you actually take the time to sort of train it on like what you do specifically in your home or your business, it's a lot more effective. So I tried it out where I took what I have in my any list is where I keep my recipes. And I have a group called Brainless Crowd Pleasers, which is a concept I got from Kendra Adachi from Lazy Genius. Yeah, and so I think I have about 15, 16, but it keeps changing because then my kids are like, oh, we don't like this. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not a crowd pleaser if it's not pleasing the crowd. So we got to do it with that. But I have all of the links, for each one. And so I put in ChatGPT, these are my family's favorite meals. Based upon this list, what other recipes would you recommend? And then it actually came up with like 10 different options that were similar, but like in a similar vein, but not the same thing. And so I'm going to be going through those and kind of seeing if they pass the test. But and then I know Chelsea Joshi actually will tell ChatGPT, like, these are the staples that I have in my house all the time. So I don't need to add these to the shopping list, but like, what else would I have to add? Or it's just, I think that it can really be utilized more so than I am now when it comes to meal planning and stuff, because I just do not like the drudgery of meal planning. I've never enjoyed it. Some people like it. I don't know who you are. If you like it, please tell me why. But I just detest it every single week, but I do it. So anyway, there's a little ChatGPT hack for your life.
That's a great idea. I'm wondering, does she use the paid version? I've heard that you can get better results if you're using the paid version because you can train it to exactly what you want versus if you're using the free version.
I'm sure she does. She didn't say specifically, but given how she uses it also with things in her business, I would assume so. But yeah, I have the free version and it still worked pretty well. Again, it was like my kids, they love ground beef. You're talking about taco meat. We have like ground beef and like chicken all the time, and then occasionally we have some other proteins. But like, I'm like, okay, what all can we do with ground beef, So it suggested like stuffed peppers and some of these things. I'm like, okay, well, it's like adjacent to some of the things that we would pick. But I think that it will help me, especially in the summer. And I'm going to try to move again towards grilling because that's easy cleanup. It's not making the house really hot. Like, I don't like it when I'm baking something and then I'm like, oh my gosh, am I having hot flashes? No, it's just that our kitchen is like 85 degrees. But just shifting that focus to simpler prep, simpler cleanup, for the summer and kind of getting that new mindset for that aspect of summer planning.
I love that. Yeah, I'll have to check with my husband because he does all the cooking, as I
Yeah.
said. We only have like 5 recipes we kind of go to. The summer is a good time to like, let's just expand a little because, things aren't as tight. You're not, trying to get to places and all that thing. I think summer, you move more in a rhythm of weekly rhythm. Like you're kind of gone one week, you're here one week, you have summer camp for a week. It's like a weekly rhythm versus a month or a day.
Yeah, I found that to be true. And I've started looking at my summer. And because a lot of times I feel like I have the summer letdown at the end where I'm like, but I wanted to do these fun things and they didn't happen, you know? So today I was looking at my list of activities to do with the kids and ones that are close by and then ones that are kind of further away. So if we wanted a day trip or something, but also something that my friend mentioned to me was looking at what skills that we want to develop over the summer, and not so much academic skills, although she's a homeschool mom, so that would make sense. But like my youngest definitely could ride a bike independently, but we just haven't prioritized it. So I want him to be able to know how to ride a bike by the end of the summer, or maybe cooking and helping me more in the kitchen, or swim lessons, that kind of stuff. And just kind of looking at the summer is not only just like fun and camps and trips, but like what skills do we want to develop over the summer as well?
Yeah, that is so key. I know we're thinking as our oldest is now 15 and she has, she's going to learn how to drive soon, but then she has 3 more summers until she's in college. We're like, I cry, and then the rest of my children all laugh, and then they also remind me, well, there's only 3 summers with her. But I'm starting to think of like, well, what skills will she need when she leaves that she may not be doing right now? And so the summer, I think, is a great time to, as you said, learn some of those other skills. And it's not necessarily like home ec skills, but like managing money, or our 2 oldest have like a till card that they use, and then they can use it to pay for things and they get a stipend for how much clothing like every month. And so then they're using that for what clothes they want to purchase, that kind of thing. So she's pretty good at it. She has like 100 tabs open at all times of what like things she wants to buy. My son is like, I think I need some new socks. And so it's their total opposites. And then he is now asking her for fashion advice. Like, hey, do you think I should order these pants? What do you think about this? And they're hilarious.
Gosh, I love that impression of your son. And by the way, I told you that in my neighborhood, they do lawn work when I'm always recording. So if you hear the leaf blowers, I apologize in advance. But yeah, I'm going to need that guidance when my kids are teenagers, because right now I'm kind of like doing all of those things, but I am thinking about, okay, like the skills and things that they need to learn. And a lot of times I don't even think about it until I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's actually really important to be able to know how to manage money. I mean, for me, even, I know that sounds silly, but like since I've been married, my husband's been the primary one managing our finances, and we've been meeting with a financial planner. And then she's like, well, what are your assets and liabilities and the other things? And he pulls up the spreadsheet, and I'm like, oh, well, that's good to know. So I feel like one of the skills I want to develop over the summer is some of this like financial awareness and empowerment and everything, because we are well taken care of, meaning if he were to pass, like we have things in place and I'm not worried about that. But I just want to like understand. Like I think in couples, when one person is the primary and then one person is the secondary, you just kind of are like, doing your roles day to day, but you don't think about, oh, what if I had to take over that? Like what if I had to take over changing the air filter in our furnace or something? Like, I don't know how to do that. So I think that might be one of my personal goals for the summer, is to kind of understand some of the things that my husband's taken the lead on that I don't know as much about.
Yeah, I love that. Us too. I mean, I think that just tends to happen because one person takes over that role, and then that they have it and like, okay, we're good. And you kind of know, but you're not involved in all the details because they're involved in all the details. And so you're not, both doing that thing. So just normally you kind of go in not opposite directions, but you're kind of on parallel paths instead. Yeah. I'm doing a series in my podcast. I'm doing like 10 weeks to kind of get moms ready for summer. And so it's a 10-week kind of summer session of how to plan for summer and like this, like what kind of things do you want to make sure you're doing by the end of the summer and where do you plan those and how is your summer rhythm going to be? How's your day going to roll? What expectations? So there's so many like moving pieces to summer. I think it takes us a long time to kind of transition in, I feel. I feel like once we're there, we're great. And then we have to transition back. So it's those two, like transitioning in and transitioning back, they're the hardest.
Yeah, I agree. And then depending on where you are, some people have really like short summers and then their kids are back like super soon. And us, I guess, they're out mid-June and go back mid-August. So I don't know one way or the other if that's considered short or long, but I agree. And that's why I'm trying to do some of like the mental preparation now, at least. So then it will be like, okay, I've already been thinking about some of these things for transitioning. And my husband, his birthday's in the summer, and then also he is retiring from the Air Force at the end of the summer, which means he is job hunting and working on these like transition to civilian life types of things. So there's a lot of transition that's going to be happening in our family. And then also his availability to be able to help with the kids is actually going to be increased, which is nice. But that's going to just sort of impact how we're approaching things as a family. And then also I want to throw him a retirement party and he doesn't want me to. So I have to figure that out. I'm like, come on. He's like, well, I'm not actually retiring from working. I'm just retiring from the military. And he's kind of he's more reserved. So he doesn't like having parties and stuff. But I'm hoping I can sway him at least for some close friends and family and everything. But yeah, I agree. I think that this is the first year I've actually given serious thought at the beginning of May to like, okay, how do I want to plan this? Like, how much structure do I want to have in the weeks that we're not at camps or traveling, but we have kind of these downtime weeks? Because too much structure doesn't make it feel like summer, but too little structure does not work for my family. It ends up in wrestling matches. So I don't do you have any insights? Maybe you're covering this in your podcast episodes, but as far as like the sweet spot of structure for summer?
I think it's kind of a rhythm. I did talk about this, I think on the last one, but it's kind of a rhythm with your kids being little. They have a different rhythm. They have, if your kids are not in school, they have pretty much the same rhythm in summer. Maybe it's like slightly different, but it's that big transition when your kids have school and then are suddenly home and you suddenly are also trying to work with them also being home. So I talked a little bit about like we set up expectations. So we went on a date. We'll probably do it again this summer, but we went last year, like before summer happened and decided, okay, what do you want the day to look like? What do you want screen time to look like? How much screen time do they get? And how much screen time do they get per day? How much time do they have talking with friends? What are they allowed to do? What do they need to do? What's required? And so we kind of came up with a list of expectations and kind of boundaries. And then we kind of modify that. But we put it on the refrigerator. And we had like a little family meeting. And we were like, okay, they don't usually get up until like, after 10 o'clock, let's say. They love to just sleep in and maybe they read their books and then they wander downstairs when they're finally hungry. And so the majority of work that I can get done is then shifted to the morning because I don't have to take anybody to school. I can start a little earlier. And then, so the morning is really kind of more relaxed for them as teens. With little kids, it's the opposite. But then, so they kind of have a slow ramp up. And then they want to stay up till forever. They're like, well, we have to get up early tomorrow. Let's watch a movie tonight. And so you kind of have to figure out your boundaries of like, okay, we said no eating cereal after 10 o'clock because all they would do is eat cereal and then they would crash because all they had was like carbs and like milk. They didn't have any protein, no fruits and vegetables. So we still would make them pack their lunch and then they could have lunch whenever they got hungry and they could have cereal when they woke up, but it's not like an all day event.
I'm laughing because my 7-year-old, he's like Mr. Carb Man, and he's like, okay, well, what do you want? Toast, and he ends up, I just shouldn't put the bread away. I think I might have mentioned this last time, but he has four pieces of toast, and then he's like, oh, and I want cereal with milk. And I'm like, do you have a hollow leg? Like, who? I don't understand. You're 7. But I love that idea of having the packed lunch in advance. I love that. I remember you mentioning that before. That is so smart for summer because people are probably on different schedules, but then also, I like because my kids are still in the season where they're getting up, between 6:30 and 7 to front load our day with the activities in the morning because of the heat more than anything else. And so that way we can go to the playground, they can go to the basketball court, we can go for our outing or whatever. And then they don't take naps anymore, obviously, but we can come back for lunch and then kind of have that downtime and maybe watch a movie in the afternoon when it's like blazing hot outside. So that has worked out pretty well for us. And I love the idea of having that kind of family meeting or setting those expectations because I do have my oldest is like this neighborhood social butterfly and he wants to hang. I realize I can't say play date. I got kind of slapped on the wrist by my 7-year-old the other day. He's like, no, mommy. Yeah, no, mommy, it's not a play date. It's a hang. I'm like, okay, you're in first grade. So simmer down. But, whatever it is, they want to see their friends and the neighborhood. And even at that age, there needs to be expectations of like, our oldest does go out by himself and has a watch. And when does he have to come home? And then, coordinating with everyone. But I think that's a great way to kind of start. So that way it isn't like they get off the bus that last day of school and they're like, freedom. And then it's just kind of like chaos city. And besides the packing the lunch, the other thing that I'm going to try to do a little better at, we have it down pretty well, but is snacks and having like some sort of boundaries around snacks and what is okay and when it's okay, i.e., 5 minutes before dinner is on the table is not okay to ask me for a snack. But I feel like in summer, they're home more, they're eating more, they're just like in and out of the kitchen every 2 seconds. And I'm not sure, I mean, your kids are older, but do you have any sort of guidelines with like snacks and snack consumption, as in you can't be eating cereal all day, or how does that work in your house?
That's a great question because we have a similar thing of like when they're home and they have more access to the kitchen, right? Over the weekend, they're like eating snacks all the time. I think that is probably something we'll have to monitor because now that we have a very growing boy, he's taller than me, not quite as tall as my husband, but his shoe size is bigger than my husband's, and he's definitely on his way. But he is eating all the time. And so we're trying to connect with like, okay, you can have one fun snack that might be, chips or fruit roll-ups that we've gotten from Costco or like a granola bar, something like that. Like, okay, fun, not the healthiest. And then you have to have one piece of fruit, any piece of fruit, have a piece of fruit. And then if you're still hungry, we'll kind of go from there. But we're trying to teach him, okay, if you're really hungry, you need some meat. So maybe a meat stick, something with protein. So it's a process, but I have a feeling we're going to have to put that on the list of like, you're limited to 3 snacks or whatever it might be. And if you need more, you need to be eating more at like meal times.
Yeah, and then also for my kids, I get berries. I'm not a type of person that gets berries all year round. Of course, if people do, then you do you, but more like May, June is when I'm going to actually get the fresh berries. And I bring them home from Costco, and then it's like they're gone in a day. And I'm like, dudes, these are expensive. You know what I mean? So I heard somebody had a great idea where it's like when you have the fruit, you have to start with a apple, banana, or orange, or like something that's like your basic, like not specialty, super expensive fruit. No exotic fruit. And then you can kind of like have the berries and stuff just from like a cost perspective, because with these growing kids, like they would eat an entire pint of blueberries just like in one sitting. So I'm trying to figure that out a little bit too. I did put one section of our fridge because I love my label maker. What can I say? And I put healthy snacks there so they can kind of pull that out. And at least for refrigerated stuff like the clementines or the cheese sticks or, that kind of stuff. And then they do have an accessible from the pantry where it's like a basket with like their main snacks. So that seems to work pretty well, but I'm the same where it's like, we need to get protein into you. What do we have to do in order for you to eat protein? My oldest will have protein powder. He'll have like a protein hot chocolate in the morning. So I feel like we're trying to figure out ways, but I feel like for everyone, adults and kids alike, it's just hard to get the protein that you need in a given day. I guess if I figure out anything, I do have meat sticks, but I'm the one that eats them. And then I think my kids think they're too spicy, spicy in air quotes, because they think everything's spicy. But if anyone wants to reach out to us and share some like tried and true kid friendly protein filled snacks that aren't just like fake food, that would be great.
But yeah, fake food, definitely. I know. So there's that. I'm sure there'll be more snacking and all kinds of stuff, but we kind of set up a boundary of like, yeah, you have to have an hour of outside time. Since we're in California, it doesn't get super hot. When they were little, we used to go to the park early because the slides would be like 100 degrees by afternoon and then they just burn themselves. So I love the idea of going somewhere when it's cooler. And then by the time it gets hot and everybody's like unhappy and kind of exhausted, you come back and you do something low key, reading a book, relaxing. I love going to the library and picking out tons of books for the summer and then signing up for like the summer reading list. And you get, prizes if you do it. Sometimes our kids used to be kind of, positive about that. But I mean, now they just read a ton of books. Going to the library to get some new ones is kind of fun.
Yeah, you just reminded me. I was working on my like summer planning and I totally forgot about like the summer reading challenges. And our library has one for adults and the prizes. And one of the prizes is like free tickets to see outdoor concerts and stuff. Like it's like I know it's like legit prizes. And I do prioritize reading. I'm usually reading one book before bed and then I do listen to audiobooks sometimes in the car. My husband makes fun of me because I usually listen to audiobooks on two speed. And he's like, how can you retain any information? I'm like, I don't know. I guess I talk fast and then I'm used to podcasts that I listen to usually at 1.5 speed. But anyway, I'm trying to have that be like a summer goal. And then also for the kids, they have a lot of cool prizes for our summer reading challenge. So thanks for the reminder. I'm going to make sure to sign them up.
Yeah. So the afternoon, you can think of water play for kids outside and popsicles, and you can make shakes and smoothies. That's how you can get some protein in, all those kind of different rhythms that you're doing in the afternoon. But I think just thinking about how your day is going to look is really important because you just jump into summer and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, how do I want my day to look? And so if you are a parent trying to also to get work done, you have to kind of figure out like, oh, I'm going to do it in the morning before my kids wake up and are really rolling. Or I'm going to do it in the afternoon when everybody has kind of downtime and it's quieter and that's like our downtime. So you just find the rhythm of whatever works for your family.
Yeah, that is something that in past seasons I haven't prepared for. And then I have that like resentment of like, why can't you guys just entertain yourselves so I can get some work done around here, you know? And so now I feel like I have a more realistic understanding. And one of the nice things about living in a neighborhood where everyone has kids here in our townhome neighborhood that are at like similar ages, it's great because we can sort of do the hang. I keep wanting to say play date the hangs, but then we can coordinate with the parent. Like, okay, can you watch them at the pool for like a couple hours and I can do the same for you later in the week. So that way you can maybe get like a work block in just by being able to coordinate with other parents that are doing the same thing. And our neighborhood pool is actually, you can just walk to it in 5 minutes because it's just for our townhome neighborhood, which is really nice. Yeah. So it's a lot easier than having to like get in the car and then, get the seats all wet and who's sitting on the towel and all the stuff. But I feel lucky that I'm in a neighborhood where we're able to sort of coordinate that between each other. And I don't think it's not like a co-op. We don't have anything like super organized like that way, but we all know that we need like relief and to get a couple hours of work done or just be able to go on errands. Like I don't like Costco anyway, and I really don't like taking my kids to Costco because people are very, what's what I'm looking for? They're very aggressive with their shopping carts. And I'm talking like elderly people too. And they're just like, it's like how they drive around here in Washington, D.C. And my kids are just like, wow, look at all this stuff. And look, oh, there's a Lego set. And look, and I'm like, no, focus on the list. Let's get out of here as soon as possible. Let's go. So, yeah, I really don't like bringing them on errands, and I do grocery pickup and pick up most places, so I don't have to like go into the store. But unfortunately, unless I paid for Instacart, which I don't really want to do right now, there's no like free Costco pickup. So I'm like, man, I gotta go in there. But it's a nice way to just sort of, again, coordinate with the neighbors, be like, hey, I need to run to Costco. Do you mind if the kids come hang out for like an hour or something? And then usually they're just like playing outside or at the pool or something. So it works out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have switched to, well, I get medication sometimes through Costco. And so to get that, it will let you order stuff from Instacart and you don't have to have a membership. It probably charges you. But I find that I spend less money and less time if I order it that way. And it just shows up at our house and then we just put everything away. So for us, it's worth it right now because I love to go to Costco and then I buy all the things in the middle. My husband's like, don't walk down the middle aisle that has all the stuff. So I'm always finding like, we could use this. And then I'm looking at somebody else's cart, like, ooh, what did they get over there? And it does not work out well.
Yeah, it happens to me too. And 99% of what I get is food and then maybe like supplements or something. But even looking at my list, any list, I can filter it by store, right? So I look and I'm like, okay, I just have 10 things to get at Costco. That will not take me long. I know where everything is unless they moved it, which they do all the time, and it drives me nuts. But then I look at my cart as I'm leaving and I'm like, wait, there's 20 things in here. And it's only supposed to be 10. And sometimes it's things I forget, but a lot of times it's like, ooh, these look like something cool that the kids would eat, you know? So I definitely fall prey to that. So perhaps the Instacart membership might be worth it to us based upon the extra things that I buy.
Right. That's what we found. But, you everybody do your own thing. So, yeah. I know I was thinking about like just ways that we've had to pivot, ways that I've had to kind of pivot in this last like month or so. I've definitely been derailed by like small tasks and like overflowing emails and just combing through lots of little things that I feel like my brain has gotten full with all these little things I'm kind of combing through instead of really working on bigger things that I should be working on.
That's happening to me too. I totally understand. I think that what I've started to do, and I think you use MeisterTask, right? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and for those of you that don't know, the reason that we use MeisterTask is because we've been indoctrinated in the Chelsea Joe Moore, Steph Gass schools, and I actually genuinely like it. I like using it. But one of the things I've done is just kind of having April, May, June, July projects and these kind of random things that are like research this for the business or kind of like these random research tasks. I've been kind of like putting more into like a project bucket so that because when I get an email about like, oh, there's this new upgrade for our email system or something, like, oh, okay. And my first thought is like, I don't want to forget about this. So I need to go and look at the website and implement it. And then I'm like, but wait a minute, there's all of these like bigger projects that you want to work on. So that's been kind of like my back burner approach, but there also I had to put like a deadline for myself for this one project that has been literally almost a year. And I'm embarrassed to say that, but it is going through the photos for my parents that I probably told you about this like a year ago, but I have photos from them since their birth and my dad's almost 80. Okay. So I did organize them, but now it's more like the scanning and then kind of like making sense of them. And I have been avoiding it like the plague. And we're going home for Memorial Day weekend at the time of recording, or recording speaking of May. And I'm like, I need to bring the pictures back Memorial Day weekend. So like I had to give myself this hard deadline, but I procrastinate. So I'm like, I need to get started and focus on this. So I have put some blocks of time on my calendar where I've specifically put like photo project because I'm hoping that will help motivate me. But I hear ya. The struggle is real when it comes to focusing on the stuff you actually need to.
Yeah, definitely. It's just all those little things that you get. A lot of it is email. I was in a summit recently and I'm going to be in another one coming up. And so I was connecting with like all the speakers. And so then you get tons of emails from all the different speakers and you're combing through them like, oh yeah, who is this? Oh, okay. Oh, I don't really need to deal with that right now. But what I started doing was tagging the ones, especially on my phone, you can tag them. So tagging the ones that I have to get back to or I need to do, and all the other ones that are just a read and then file or read and then done, I leave those for another time. And one of the best times, so it's coming up. So this Saturday, I'm going to get my hair cut. And so you're just sitting there forever and you don't, sometimes you have a book or something big, but it's really easy to have something small like your phone that you're just doing. So I know like I can just get caught up on my email and I can read through a bunch of stuff and toss out things and that kind of stuff because I'll just be sitting there getting my hair cut for a couple hours.
Yeah, I do the same thing. And then my oldest has been doing physical therapy at AM for the last month or so. And they don't have Wi-Fi there, but I'm just using the hotspot on my phone. And then I've been knocking out some of these projects where it's like my brain's not quite awake, but then I can get through emails or kind of do that kind of thing. And I think I mentioned in a previous one of our episodes here that I created a tag in Gmail called waiting. And so if I send an email and I'm waiting to hear back, then I put that waiting tag. And then usually every couple of days, I go to that and just see kind of what I'm waiting to hear back on. Do I need to follow up? That kind of thing. And then that's been really helpful. Just so when I send it, it's not just like sent and we forget about it. And I think when you're talking about that kind of like coordinating with people or any of that kind of stuff, it might be helpful to give that a try for people if you find that you're like, wait, when did I thought that person was supposed to get back to me? So that's been working really well for me and has gotten into my like every 2 to 3 days checking that in my Gmail. So that's been great.
I love that. Yeah. And that's so true. Like there's all those little things that then derail you from like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to work on this project, whether it's doing photos or whether it's organizing or whether it's I need to map out some more episodes and record for the times that we're going to be gone over the summer. Like that's something I need to get done. But like sitting and really being focused on it, sometimes we can be all over the place. I've noticed also like meetings kind of derail me if I have meetings that aren't back to back and there's like time in between them. Often I'm like, oh, I got some things done, but it's not enough to really get into other things. So I'm thinking what I might do for the future is like put all my meetings or try to put a lot of my meetings on like 2 or 3 days during the week. And then the other days have like a bigger block to really work on stuff.
Yeah, I've been doing that. Like I kind of bookend my week. This is just for my own, what's been working for me personally, but I teach a preschool music class on Mondays. And then on Fridays, I have my Zumba class and go volunteer at the school. So those are my like bookend personal volunteerish type days. And I like having the Monday for that to kind of ease into the week and the Friday to kind of like be excited for the weekend. And then I'm trying to focus all of my like work stuff on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then to your point, when it comes to meetings, I think for the fall, I'm going to try to have all the meetings on Wednesday so that I just can block it out that way. Because I think that's something to your point with our brain, where once you're kind of in a flow of a specific type of task, it's just like easier to stay in that flow rather than having to switch and do all of that code switching. So I think that that's a great idea. And I'm going to sort of do that a little bit more in a nuanced way now that I'm going all in on my in-home decluttering and organizing business starting in July. So
I love it.
that's another thing that's coming up for me is that sort of transition. And it's been going well as far as like gearing up for it, but I want to have those foundational things in place again to the point of planning for the summer. So I'm trying to do that now.
And thinking about how your week's going to flow. And as you said, yeah, I find that Wednesdays are my best day for introspective work or things that I really need to think about and I need to reflect on. My husband goes to work on Wednesday. Well, he goes to work every day, but he goes to the office on Wednesday. So he's not here and he's a pretty loud talker. And so I have to move upstairs and like far away if I'm recording. But I do find I love the office because it's light and it's bright and it's in the front of the house and you can see the garden and it's kind of like, and so I find that like if he's gone and it's not super noisy, that's the best time to kind of think through things and reflect versus like maneuvering around the house.
Yeah, and I think that's great planning. And I know that we've spoken before about like planning based upon your energy, but I think also planning based upon other people, like who's in your home. And the same with my husband. He's in this transition time with his job. So then it's like, okay, when am I able to record? When am I able to do these interviews? Like, when do you have stuff going on? So then I'm able to kind of set that expectation with him. That's really funny that you say how he's a loud talker.
We're both loud talkers because if I'm on a meeting next to him, he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, you're so loud." And I'm like, "You're just as loud." So we can't be next to each other if we're on a meeting that we both have to talk on. If we're on meetings we are listening to or we're very, minimal interjection, that's fine. I was thinking of you because so I think I told you last time we have a friend who does a huge swap meet. It's twice a year, so she just had it this last weekend. So I brought 2 carloads of stuff to her house to get rid of.
Gosh. Yay.
So our youngest decided just in the last week, right before the swap, he decided to get rid of his train table.
Okay, wow, that's big.
And it's huge. He's had it forever since he was like 2. And it's covered in Legos and army figures. So he decided, I think I'm done with this. And so he wanted to get rid of it. And now he wants to redo his room because he feels like his room just isn't bringing anything to the table.
I did have my youngest say that he wanted to organize his room the other day, just unprompted. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Like, fine. And so I'm like, okay, well, we can look through your books. And he did it real easily. And I'm like, okay, I've trained my kids well.
Good job.
But yeah, that's great. I think the only other thing I had kind of made a list of things to mention, and one of the things I've been using is the Opal app, which is like a focus app.
Yeah.
So I use the free version, but I have these like focus blocks, and I have one on the weekend for Saturday and Sunday, like mornings. And then for work days, I think it's from like 9 to 12 or 9 to 12:30, and then evening, like starting at 5. And I may have mentioned this before, but it's been working really well. And then every week it tells you like how many years of your life you're saving by not being on your phone. And it's like based upon your screen time when you first signed up, you are saving 13 years of your life. And I'm like, okay, I will take it. But I mean, I'm not like super, it's just kind of look at the weekly report and everything. But I do like it when I'm like, okay, I'd really like to watch a show right now, or I'm trying to distract myself. And then you have to go through a lot of hoops to undo the block that you've made. And they make it hard on purpose. And so you're kind of like, oh, do I actually need to do such and such? And usually for me, the thing that's bringing me joy right now is I'm on season 5 of watching The Golden Girls. And I love it so much and it makes me happy. And I watch it before bed and I'm there like chuckling and laughing. And my husband's trying to read. And I'm like, like you could watch it with me, but he remembers it. He's a little older than I am, but he like remembers watching it when he was a kid. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that episode." And the episode's from like 1988 and he remembers it. But that's the thing that's bringing me, I think, the most joy right now is that I usually watch like 1 to 2 episodes of The Golden Girls every day and it makes me laugh. It makes me happy.
Oh, I love it. The thing that's bringing me joy would be watching lizards that we have outside. So I love sitting in a specific chair in the office. I think I mentioned it, but I like sitting there and I got an electric blanket. So it's like nice and cozy and you can easily turn it on and off. It just stays on the chair. And so I grab my devotional. She reads truth in the morning and my coffee. And then I sit in my nice cozy spot and like read. And if I look right outside our door, like French doors, there's a post to our front like porch area and there's lizards, like a family of lizards that live underneath. So they'll come out in the sunshine and then when a bird comes by or it gets dark, they all go underneath the post. And so every morning it's kind of funny to just watch them and like It's just like beautiful.
I love that. I really love that. I've been going on walks lately, again, before it gets like super warm, and I saw a fox the other day, like a baby fox. We see them a lot around here. And so I just have been kind of like trying to I still will listen to podcasts or music, but I've been trying to pay a little bit more attention to like nature and kind of more enjoying that. I keep saying I'm going to go on a tech-free walk and then I don't, but it's okay. I mean, I'm still enjoying nature and paying attention as I'm walking, and then I find that I get a lot of good ideas, while I'm walking. And I think it has something to do, I've heard about like the bilateral movement, and then it kind of does something with your brain to help you with ideas. So that's something I want to do more of, is sort of the morning walks first thing before the kids get on the bus. And then I've kind of had my sort of focused, quiet movement time, and then can kind of move into the rest of the day.
That's awesome. I was listening to a fun podcast, but it was a bunch of CEO moms talking about different hacks. And one of them was they had a ChatGPT app on their phone. And so when they were taking their walk, they would think about what they wanted to write in emails and that kind of thing. And so then they talked to it and composed what they were thinking, what kind of things they wanted to write, all their copy. So then when they got back home, then they were like, I have all this stuff. And so it was just a way that they were thinking and using it at the same time.
Yeah, I like that. And just sort of being in that brainstorming, exploratory mode. Sometimes people, I think I'm like this, I just didn't realize it, but I do find I'm more creative, like when I'm walking or I'm just kind of like moving rather than just like sitting and being like, oh, this is my brainstorming time. So again, it's that self-awareness and then kind of seeing how you can fit that into your day, especially with the different rhythm that's coming up in summer.
Definitely. Yeah. I love your idea of like, okay, when I take them to the bus, I'm going to drop them off and then I'm going to do a little walk, right? Because you're batching those two things. You're already out with them. You don't have to then leave again from your house, which is often when you get stuck, right? Because you're like, oh yeah, I have to my tennis shoes and I have to get change my clothes and I have to, there's so many more mental hurdles you kind of put in between versus if you just add it in your schedule, like, I'm going to go for a walk after I take the kids.
Yeah, and I find that it's great. My husband is usually the point person on like helping the kids in the morning too. So if I'm really ambitious, then sometimes I do my walk before they even go out to the bus, and then I feel like a rock star for the rest of the day.
That's awesome. Then you're like, I'm done. Then you drop them off and then you're like, you walk back home and you're like, time to have some coffee and start up on blah, blah, blah. That's great. Yeah. Well, as we kind of wrap it up, do you have any kind of things that you are looking forward to that are coming or any kind of funny things that you're thinking about?
I think just my son's birthday party. He's really kind of funny because this is one of the first parties where he's wanted to be very exclusive, rather than inviting the whole class. It kind of like the pendulum swings the other way. So he's wanting to have this very exclusive, like, boys only party. I convinced him to have it at our local pool rather than a trampoline park to the tune of $500. So I'm happy about that. And so that is just something that I'm planning, like he wants a Star Wars theme. So kind of looking at what we're going to do. My neighbor as a side job, he loves making cakes. So I'm seeing if he can make a cake for him. And yeah, that's probably kind of my main focus. But also talking about kind of like gift giving and, as kids get older, it's like I find harder to figure out what to get them. And of course, I still have grandparents and people asking, but he was like, yeah, I feel like I really don't need anything. And I'm like, first of all, I'm really proud of you. And second of all, oh no, because like, what am I going to tell the grandparents? But we did figure out some things and they did agree to do some more like experience things and contribute to the 529 plan and these types of things. I'm happy about that because he really gave us nothing to go on. And as a minimalist, I was very proud of him, but then I still have to answer to all these people.
Okay, that sounds like my middle one. He's like, I just want cash. Okay.
Yeah.
Had a birthday with his buddies and he somehow was texting them all. They were all asking, what do you want? What do you want? And somehow he texted that he wanted tea instead of cash. I don't know how that got miscommunicated, but somehow it was communicated that he wanted tea. And so all of his buddies as a joke, all connected with one another and decided to bring him packages for a happy birthday, but all tea. So they borrowed tea boxes from their moms and like put in inside the tea box. Then they like put money or put gum or snacks or something fun that he would like. But it was all a whole thing of, we all got you tea.
Oh, that's really funny. I'm sure he appreciated that and he will not make that mistake again.
Hilarious. One of my friends said her son grabbed their teapot and was going to take the teapot, and she was like, "That's my girl's teapot." Like, no one.
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. You just can't. Yeah, and I'm doing a room by room series on my podcast. So just putting out one for the bedroom, and then I've been asking for feedback as to the rooms that people want to focus on. So that was a listener recommendation. And I love that idea because sometimes people just want, the tactical, like, how do I approach my basement because it scares me? Yeah. So that's, I guess, the other thing that I'm sort of excited about, at least on the podcast coming up. Yeah. Yeah. But this is always fun. And I love this just organic conversation about everything that's working for us and how we're dealing with real mom life and Maycember and all the things. Thank you as always, Michelle, for having me to chat with today.